Justin, baby.
When I saw these gifts.
So it just gets in. All right, let's call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody to the work session, April 21st, 9:30 a.m. I'll ask the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
Scott Horowitz.
I'm here.
Ed Warner, present. Chip Marin. Here. John McLaughlin.
Here.
And Matt Parsons. Here.
Right.
All here, Mr. President.
Right, thank you. We have some discussions on this morning. Priority dredge list. I can push your button here, buddy. I know there's going to be some new protocols for priority dredge list this year. Very, very strict protocols with the county for things that have to go on, that
Yes.
we put on there. There's a lot of criteria and a lot of a requirement for public benefit.
Well, I think the biggest one that all of our projects are going to have to meet is a public access for the community, whether it's through the trustees, town, or very large marinas and the public benefit at large. And there's a second criteria that the county does go by, and it's water quality. But the water quality would also, as I understand, would also need some public, access to, these waterways that they're going to be doing, county, it's county funding. It doesn't cost the trustees or the town any, money out of their coffers. Basically, the county pays for it, and they've been maintaining these channels since, I believe since the early 60s. So, and they've been doing a good job. And just to let the public know, in the town of Southampton, we have gotten the lion's share of the dredging done with the county because of our staffing, James Durrier, and some of the other staffers helping the county with information as far as plovers, as far as, ability for access and stuff like that. So, normally where some of the towns only get one or two projects done, I think we got 7 done last year and 7 or 8 done the year before. And we also work with, through the county and the Army Corps on some larger projects in the Intercoastal Waterway, which was done in Shinnecock Bay, south end of the canal, and also Cork Canal, and in Tyana Bay. And some of that material actually ended up either on Tyana Bay bayside, where the rock gabions were covered up to protect the horseshoe crabs from getting trapped when they spawn there, and also by Road H in Shinnecock Inlet for beach restoration.
Right.
So there's a lot of good projects that we have worked with the county and other entities on accomplishing.
So there's limited resources for dredging, and there's limited dredge window because you have to account for spawning fish and nesting birds and so forth. And the reality is that some of the things that they may have done 10, 15, 20 years ago they're not as dynamic. They're not going to qualify today. So just because it was done in the past, 15 years ago, with the way things are now, and so much pressure on, the dredge areas that they deem as priority, North Sea Harbor and things like this, you can't get to everything. Obviously you got to have your permits and spoil sites in place, and they're going to be looking at this, with a lot greater scrutinization. So before we put things on there, I think, we have to be, very careful that it's going to meet those tests, so that we're successful. And I think you got to manage people's expectations. I mean, obviously there are a lot of creeks throughout our township that they need dredging. They're silted up very badly, and they do have a lot of public benefit to them. But because of the logistics in those projects, they're difficult, and we may have to start to figure out how to tackle some of those. I see Fort Pond's on that list. Fort Pond's been on that list for decades, right? And maybe that one can move, because that one requires over $10 million worth of transportation of dredge spoils. That's the responsibility of the town. Tremendous water quality project. It has a collaborative effort with the county in terms of the engineering and the actual dredging, but the duty and responsibility of getting rid of the spoils is on the town. So, I mean, just in that one that's on that list has been a lot of years there. and logistically, very difficult. But it could happen. It just takes money.
Between you and myself and the time that I've been on it and you've been on the board, it's been 19 years of us entertaining this project. And then prior to that, my father was on the board for 26 years prior to that. And that was one of the projects that they had entertained for 26 years prior to that. So it's going on to almost 50 years of, stagnation and basically not able to get
Right.
the spoil sites and funding. And there's a lot. When it comes to dredging, it's not just sending a dredge crew down there and pumping some sand on the beach. It's a lot more than
A lot of logistics, and in that one you have the Gobler lab,
right.
sitting at the end of it, which requires good water quality for all the activities that are done there by those folks. So we're going to have to provide a list, obviously, and provide our guidance, but everybody has to be mindful of the fact that there's a lot stricter requirement on here moving forward. So I think people have to manage their expectations. We'll continue to do the good work that we do in coordinating with our staff and the county staff to bridging gaps in a timely fashion where they need to be. And we'll do the best we can. As you said, we've gotten a good chunk of that benefit for the county. It's been great for the public. We'll just keep going. It may get a little bit tougher. So let's shift gears. You have another one on here about our trustee barge. You get some updates and discussion.
We had an issue with one of the engines on the barge last year, which we placed navigational aids in and fixed docks and do a lot of the marine maintenance work off of it. One of the engines was having issues. We had it looked at and serviced this winter. They took it out for a test run and it blew up, so that we're in the process of getting pricing for 2 new engines for that barge. I believe we gotten 2 price quotes from different vendors, and I think the one with Yamaha, I think it's a better choice personally, because I run Yamahas on several of my boats, and I've had a lot of good success with the Yamaha engine. So just want to let the board know that we got the quotes.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Just as long as we get it propped right, we'll be all set.
Yes.
Chip had an excellent point relative to being propped correctly for the
Just the
application.
aluminum props too. Save the seals, save the bearings, do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
The other thing that is important is that we're going to have to set up a bid spec for all of the repairs on these engines, and we're going to have to send that out. We're going to have to change the manner by which we handle that. So what we're going to have to do is get together and get that done. That way, when things do need to be done from a maintenance perspective, a warranty, or repair, we have that all locked down, and we're not jumping through all kinds of hoops. We're complying with the procurement policies.
Well, it's extremely important when you purchase a new engine. Most of them come with a 1 or 2 year warranties and have a service log on all these engines, so that if something breaks in the time that the warranty is still valid, that we can go back to the engine producer and get some warranty work done on them, because they're looking at $150 an hour bill for a mechanic to work on these engines. It turns into thousands of dollars pretty quick.
Yeah, so we'll do that. And in addition to the other boats that we maintain too, aside from the new ones, I think we're going to need to put together a bid so that that's all done, and it makes it a lot easier maintenance as you're going through the season. We'll take care of that too.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Since we're getting 2 new engines, like anything else, when you buy it these days, they offer you a extended warranty and service. Is that something that would be worth our while to look at and still fit within procurement and everything?
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would, because these are workhorses, what they are. At barge, it's important to get, look, navigation aids have to get into the water. You're talking about a substantial public safety issue. And, we've got to service our infrastructure that we have that's within the capability of our marine maintenance department, but we also have to be able to get navigation aids in and out. So we need reliability. And when something does break, we need to be able to get it fixed quickly.
Yeah.
And we need to be complying with all, municipal procurement policies, so that we're dotting every I and crossing every T. So we just got to get ahead of that curve now. There have been other procedures that we've been able to utilize, third-party administrators that would facilitate that, but that's changing now. So we have to do it differently.
Just thinking, since you can't get it for an old engine, since we're buying new, the manufacturer may have something that might be attractive for us.
Definitely,
No, they all do.
definitely.
Up to 5-year warranties.
And we get our money's worth.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're not kidding. All right. So we're good with that for now. I see we have waterfowl hunting location permit applications for determination. I see we have one in Trustee Parsons area, permit 22. I mean, you want to come up, Shakira?
Here's your.
Good morning.
Orange.
Morning, Shakira.
Your weekend?
Shakira from the trustee's office.
Happy Easter.
Took a little trip here to Southampton Town Hall from our normal office at 240 West, huh?
Yes.
Little field trip.
Little field trip, not bad. Traffic was great.
Yeah, traffic was good today, right?
Yes, not bad at all.
So at JFK.
We have Stephen Bentz. He was served a notice of violation for not putting his boat in for his waterfowl. And so now he never responded to the NOV that he received. We never received any correspondence from him at all.
Right. So I spoke to Rich Franks about it last week, and Rich had issued him the notice of violation, and 2 months have transpired, and there's been nothing has been received from Mr. Bentz. No letter, no call, and so it is the opinion of all of us involved that this spot should go back to the wait list.
I mean, if you haven't had any correspondence back, and we've tried to contact them. That's a normal protocol. I mean, hunting is a privilege in this town, and in these spots, there's only a few of them to hunt. So if you're not willing to abide by the rules, and don't have any contact with either the trustee in the area or the bay constable, it's kind of like maybe he doesn't want to hunt the spot. So
Seems that way. I think somebody else
It's a reasonable conclusion that he doesn't.
Yeah, put it back on the list.
else will probably use it better.
Okay, next issue.
Next, we have 6 fish trap and fikes applications for new spots.
We have recommendations.
So the Bay Constables, they are okay with it, so they said it's upon your approval. So 3 are in Cleog, right near the Wildlife Refuge, and then 3 are in Sagaponack, near Sagme and Seascape Lane.
So the BC approved it. Bayman, you think it's?
I mean, I know the Quantic area very well. There's been fikes in there for my whole tenure on the water, almost 50 years. So I'm okay with those 3. And
Yeah, I'm fine with the other 3 sites.
Yeah.
So 6, great. And that's all I got.
That's all you got? Well, efficiency. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shakira.
Thanks for making the trip.
yes.
All right. So we have some general permit applications for determination. First one is Red Creek Equities LLC, 14 Duckwood Lane, Hampton Bays. I see Suzanne is here from N Consultants. Good morning.
Morning.
So, this is a dock that was previously approved in the same location back in 2017, I believe. I was here a month or so ago. I think at that time, the board didn't have any issues with the proposed structure, but you wanted us to get feedback from the DEC. They have spoken, in their wisdom, they have recommended that we reduce the ramp over the lawn from 4 feet to 3 feet. So I've made that change.
Okay. Yeah, we had a feeling that they would come in with some wisdom. That's why we suggested that, wait before we.
So there, we've resubmitted to everyone with that small change. Anticipate getting that permit very soon. So
Okay.
if you're willing to move it forward as proposed, that would be
What do you
great.
think, James?
Stamps.
Yeah, so we'll get you stamp plans.
Okay.
If that all looks good.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So advanced pending stamp plans.
That's fine.
Do you have any others?
That's all I've got on.
That's all you have, that's all I see.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
You too.
All right, we have 46 Ram Pasture Owners LLC, R&W Engineers.
Morning, we are members of 46 Ram Pasture, we're representing ourselves.
Representing yourselves, okay?
If you could just sign in.
So this is the first submission for this proposed application. This is for replacement of an existing 220-foot linear bulkhead. And we have a seasonal permit for 150 foot of dock that we're looking to install a permanent dock.
Right. And this bulkhead elevation is, what elevation are we doing this bulkhead at?
It is at was it at the existing, or are we going at 1 feet 8 foot higher than what
We
we
need to
He
know.
drew it slightly higher.
Because
Yes,
you're,
be a little more protected.
what do you see on your side of the application there, James? Are you seeing an indication there, or? I don't, so we're gonna have to get clarification on that.
Okay.
We need clarification on that.
Okay.
On the cover sheet.
On the cover sheet, we need to know specifically, right, and we also need to know, are you doing any reclamation dredging associated with this? What are they gonna, is there any material, are you pulling anything back? I mean,
The plan is to install a vinyl sheathing bulkheading in front of the existing wooden one.
So we have to find out if this has been stepped forward.
right, how many layers of bulkhead are there now?
Just one. Just one.
How old are your bulkhead is currently? How old is it? No,
I don't know the exact age.
We'll have to see.
I want to get an idea what it is.
It's beginning to fail. The tie backs are starting to fail and it's starting to go seaward.
Right. And what about buffering the grass?
I don't believe the engineer, we depended on our engineer to do that right. He does not show that, but I understand we need a 10-foot buffer.
Right, so you're
I'll
gonna have,
make sure that plans are updated to show that.
right, so you're gonna have to update the cover sheet, you're gonna have to update the plans. Gonna have to get clarification on the elevation.
10-foot buffer.
10-foot buffer.
Yeah.
Do we need filter fabric also?
No, not if you
Not-
use a vinyl.
right,
If you're
not-
using the old tongue and groove, that would be standard. But with the vinyl, it's interlocked and it's pretty tight, so it doesn't want to be.
Okay,
Exactly.
on the drawings, he shows CCA piles.
No,
I didn't think so.
not currently, that's currently not in spec with what we do.
What would you prefer as piles?
Gonna have to do double banded tropical hardwood.
Okay.
And the buffer, what does that material to be?
It could be gravel, it could be
Sand or
Gravel
gravel?
sand.
or
Yeah.
Cape American
Preferably,
beach.
preferably mixtured with some native vegetation there to wick up, because you do have some lawn space there just to wick up. It would be, so you're gonna have to have a conversation with, the engineer, who's ever doing this. He's gonna have to tweak this.
Yes.
Where are you at with the other regulatory authorities?
We have all the permits.
You have them all.
We have the DEC, we have the state, and we have the Army Corps of Engineers.
For the dock and the bulkhead?
Yeah, because
What is it? Do we know what the depth soundings of the dock is?
Yeah, I'm trying to, it's not really clear. It gets out to 2.5, it looks like it gets out to 2.7.
what are your
But
thoughts?
I don't see the
pier line-
soundings
The
in
pier
the,
line here, I think, is 100 feet. That's why
Yeah.
I'm questioning it.
it gets out to 2.7, but I don't really see the soundings in the dock application on the same.
You want to transition from seasonality to a permanent fixture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, that's over here. I can't even see it. It doesn't have it overlaid, has it?
It's going,
I can't see it.
punching way past,
The pier line.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes, yes. The seasonal and the permanent are identical.
The seasonal dock and the permanent dock.
they are. That's,
Saying, but it's-
Yes, no, that's the direction we get.
Dimensions,
Yes.
Yeah, these
It
seasonal
goes out
docks were-
100 feet, and then there's a 50-foot T,
Yeah.
and that's what we have now for the seasonal.
Do we always approve a T like that? It's a little excessive, no?
Well, that was
well,
back.
this is a shared, this is
Yeah,
a shared
shared
community.
This is the
This
old
is-
Clegger property.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
probably been there
cooperative.
since the 60s or around that.
What's the name of the family?
Clegger?
Right,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It's a shared, this is a shared,
It's
Yeah,
Law-
it's
it was
12
Law-
unit,
Laurwood Cottages,
yeah.
right?
The Laurelwood Cottages, yes,
You know,
yes.
you know it was.
Yes. So they're, I mean, if they're following the
There's a
existing.
great picture in that.
Well,
Hampton
I
Bays
mean,
guy.
see, with these seasonal docks, you just replace them every year, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
And the reason for the seasonal docks in this area is because of the heavy ice. Years ago, the docks that they put in would get pulled. In the 70s, we would actually have a winter where there would be a foot and a half of ice on the bay, and then even if you had bubbles, it would still ruin the docks. So that's why they went with these.
it hasn't been so drastic
No.
lately.
No, our neighbors have permanent docks, and they do not have.
No,
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple new ones on the bay on our side.
Yeah.
The only seasonal one is our next door neighbor,
Yes.
and they put it out, but everybody else has permanent.
I mean, judging by the pier line of the adjacent dock, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, it's not ready to move yet. We need,
No, we
Mhm.
understand
this
that.
is not ready to move,
No,
but
we understand that.
but we certainly can work.
This direction to us is very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have native plantings on the 10-foot setback, like Cape American beach grass and, 12-inch spacing,
I didn't
What
catch
type
that
of
with
grass?
grass.
Cape American beach grass, right? Isn't that what we're going with most of the time? That's the most
Clarification.
affordable.
Chip,
Yeah, clarify what you want.
And clarify elevation.
property 2 or 3,
The intent of that setback is so
big
to
motel
avoid
there, and it's
fertilizers,
got a
right?
huge dock too. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh.
a huge
Well,
dock.
plus, when you do get overtopping, if you have deep-rooted native vegetation, that will help secure that land as opposed to just, shallow-rooted grasses and stuff. So it just makes for a much better project.
But the more clarity you have on the cover sheet, it's saying 12-inch spacing. And if your engineer can actually show the 10-foot setback with the plant spacing, and then the height. We need the height nailed down.
Yeah.
One thing that the contractors have brought to our attention about these seasonal docks is you actually disturb the bottom a lot more, putting it
That's what
in
we
and
heard,
out.
yeah.
So that's why, years ago, the DEC would only approve seasonal docks in these areas. And then now that we have more substantial dock structures and making them with tropical hardwoods that don't pull up as easy with the ice, they do last, through pretty much a pretty wicked winter.
You're gonna have to specify that those pilings are double banded because that material will open up like a bouquet of flowers on the top.
It splits.
It splits right open.
Okay.
We have some of that product on some of the
It's
trustee
not,
docks.
yeah, it's,
Bands, literally, if you just put a single band on there, over like 5 years, it'll just pop the band right off.
right, so you have to keep an eye on
And
that.
keep them covered.
Yeah, keep
Keep the
moisture.
rainwater out, because then they freeze and
Freezes.
pops it.
They make caps for these.
Caps,
I was
Li-
just
little
about to
cones.
ask.
Yeah, they
little
do.
cat-
Yes,
Is
they
that
do.
something
But yes,
recommended or
yeah,
required? or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll make it,
recommended?
it'll last longer.
Yeah,
Recommended and definitely banded.
yeah.
If you have further questions, you can contact our office to speak to James Duryea. He can give you guidance.
Duryea?
Yes, but I think that you have a good indication of what you need to amend here on your cover sheet, your plans, and clarify. If
Appreciate
you have any other questions, or,
No, I think we're good.
like I said, if you got them, just reach to the office. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Hold. Okay, we have Robert Reichenbach, 15 Romana, for Surfside Environmental. We have past councilwoman and legislator Fleming here today.
Indeed. Wow, Daphne's the
Daphne.
important one, so.
Hello, Daphne.
Hi. Good morning, everyone.
Bridget?
If I may, Scott, can we get in?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So we're here because I'm Bridget Fleming, I'm McBride Consulting and Business Development for Mr. Reichenbach, and you know Daphne well, Vaughn. we're here just because we're sort of between a rock and a hard place. That's a bad pun, sorry. With regard to regulatory agencies, so the state and this board. So we know you're very familiar with this and with the essential problem at the base of this issue. So it's our hope that we can work together to figure out how to scale that rock and a hard place situation. As you know, I'll just remind you, Mr. Reichenbach's property sits between two approved hardened structures, right? So there's bulkheads that have been approved and redone as recently as 6 years ago, approved by both this board and by the DEC. So it's not a hardship that he's created, but it is a very real hardship. And I believe that this board is all in agreement with the level of hardship that the wave action causes to Mr. Reichenbach's property. And I would just note that, for instance, he's got a pool there, and he's had to replace the mechanics in the pool because of salt water intrusion in those mechanics. So we wanted to come to you. We have applied to DEC, and the DEC has asked for us for an alternative analysis to what Daphne worked with you to get approved here. And Daphne will describe both the location and the level of armoring that they've challenged. But it is our hope that, as a first order of business, this board will confirm, sort of for the DEC, that this is a real issue. This isn't something that is a minor issue, and I think that the fact that he's had to replace his mechanics, not to mention that a sailboat once ended up in his pool from the bay. So this is real, and we hope that you will confirm that. So there are really two issues. The other issue, one is that it's real. The other issue does concern the level of armoring and the location of the armoring. And so I think Daphne is listening carefully to those of you who've been very specific about this, but now we just have to find a sweet spot that is on both those issues, the level of armoring and the location.
Yeah, we got to build consensus so that you actually have a project that you can do.
Right, so I was here in December, and we discussed relocating what we were proposing as far as the shoreline hardening with the rocks, differing capacities, let's call it, in a smaller rock bed with a filter fabric, etc. You had asked for us to relocate it a little bit landward to get it away from some bog material, which we had done. We had discussed the need for backfill beyond the stone to grade into the property to alleviate ponding on the landward side and kind of level out the grade that has eroded away with all these storms over time. So we had done that and were given the authority by this board to go forward with engineered stamp plans. So we submitted those. However, we did hear back from the DEC, who is taking issue with the location and wants it even further landward. The issue with that is that would take this out of this board's jurisdiction, which is not something we have interest in.
Can I interrupt you for just a second?
Sure.
So specifically what the DEC said, that placing something of this magnitude seaward of the fence is unlikely to be approved for two reasons. One, because of lack of justification, which I hope you all will support, that this is a justified project. But then second, the established vegetation. Those were the two reasons why they suggested that we consider a vegetated berm.
In lieu of the rocks, essentially. They're not seeing need for any rocks whatsoever. I don't agree with that at all. I wrote this whole thing to them stating why it was necessary, a whole variance determination, and they basically threw it at me saying, we don't like it.
But I do think that we can, if we can, with the support of this board, approach them with something that is a step down, both in in both those aspects, the location and the armoring, that we can meet both your concerns and their concerns, but we do have to understand where you guys will be,
Well,
in terms of those two
Can I
aspects.
ask why you don't want to go upland?
Well, first of all, they want us to put it where the existing fence line is right now, which would be fully landward of one of the returns of the neighboring bulkhead. It would be at the end of the existing return of the other neighboring bulkhead, which is
they already
6
have
inches
it.
higher on one side and the other bulkhead on the other side. So our proposal kind of sticks to the middle of everything. Plus, if we move it further landward than what we're already proposing, then we're digging into this guy's property even more. It's kind of like he's being penalized for not ever having a bulkhead. He's lost property over the years because of these shore hardening structures on either side of him. So he just wants to maintain his shoreline basically around the high water mark on one side and just skew it so it goes between the two bulkheads. We had to come back to you with this plan showing that the fence would be relocated to the landward side of plantings, which would be 10 feet landward of the top part of the shore hardening, the rock revetment, I guess we can call it. So we've done everything that this board has asked us to do, but the DEC is not following suit. We already have approvals, I should say, from Army Corps and Department of State for the project as discussed with this board.
It's our hope that if Daphne's able to design something with your guidance that meets the approval, or that may meet the approval of the DEC, that you folks could take precedence and go ahead and improve it to the point where we could then take that approval along with the other two agencies that we've got, go to the DEC and say, as local folks, we are sort of asking you to recognize that this is a real problem and this is a very reasonable solution.
That's what we did by moving forward with the other project, right? So we're not granting bulkheads. That's not happening, right? So we're trying to find this combination of vegetation and
James, could you bump it
stone,
back to the one with the rocks?
right? So do you have,
But that was preliminary, Scott. I mean, if we could get a
if
permit.
we're telling, I understand. So they're already,
On this picture here,
Yes.
what is the proximity of your proposed structure in reference to this self-help rock revetment that's been placed there?
Yeah, so that's part of the DEC's concern also, is they don't want us to remove that, which is why they want us to start where the existing fence is.
All the way up here?
Yeah,
Yeah, but this grass is gonna get covered and it won't, this is a grass that needs to be somewhat submerged, not constantly.
Right.
So if this grass is basically put in front of the rock revet proposed structure, but it's gonna get inundated with water much more than it has previously, and it's not gonna survive.
You see those pictures?
I agree. So our goal is to remove that makeshift structure and the concrete buckets that the owner's father put behind the fence to try to hold something, and start the new structure. I believe it's in line with those rocks, and is just slightly angled.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
You've got the fence there. The purpose of the fence is because of the swimming pool, correct?
yes,
So
yes.
moving everything around, are you gonna then find yourself in jeopardy with the building code because,
No, we're removing that fence.
right, are you gonna,
We're removing that fence, we're building a new berm of rock and sand that would then be covered with vegetation. That would start approximately where those rocks are right
Here's
now.
the survey, the fence.
yeah, no, my question was,
Oh,
if they're making you move the fence, if
Yes.
the DEC is saying, well, lose the fence is there for safety reasons,
Well, it's
not for
they're
aesthetics,
not
so.
only they're saying remove the fence, put the rocks where the fence is, and then put the fence even further landward.
I mean,
So they
judge,
wanna-
But will we?
Judging by
That's
the-
what I'm saying, you
Will
could be
we
placing yourself
install
in
the
fence?
fence?
Jeopardy with the building code
Yeah,
by moving
thank
the
you.
fence
It's gonna cost the property owner, they're just gonna have to reinstall a fence
Yeah, no,
closer
I'm
to
not
the
talking about the
Judging
cost,
by
I'm
the-
talking about the
judging by
safety
this
factor
photo,
of
it
the state
looks
building
like-
code with a fence, that's all.
It looks like this, if you were to have to abide by the state guidelines, that according to the bottom photo, the rocks would run into the return of the other bulkhead, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And then on the top,
Both sides.
on both
Yes.
sides, and then the other looks like there's like a running bulkhead. So it would
Cement
basically
wall.
be in line with the cement wall,
Yes.
and it would be, and it would tee off to the return.
Same height as the picture on the bottom. Because the one on the top is about 6 inches higher overall than the other guy.
And then we're gonna add sand and dune grass on top.
Yes. So it's Spartina Payton's being planted above on the whole thing to a 10-foot
To a 10-foot.
landward of the top.
And if
So
you,
as far as like having a gap in the return, that's not really an issue, as you stated before, correct?
Well, with what they want, yes, it is.
With the
'cause it
state, with what the
would-
state wants, because I
would
mean, even if
go-
you look at this bottom picture, it's running right into the return.
Well, actually, maybe you're right. The wall does go, it's underground partially after a certain point.
I mean, I understand, like, it seems like it bows into the tip of the return anyway. I mean,
And
we're
there's
kind of
sort of,
splitting hairs here, which is ridiculous, because we have existing rock structure that's
Right.
kind of like holding a seagrass bed that's existing, and everything that's existing is gonna be way better than anything we plant. 'Cause it's gonna take years for the root structure to grab onto the rocks and such, so, I mean, and then if you look at the other side, it's running into a concrete wall, as I understand. If you roll it back, it's for all intents and purposes gonna be, the person's yard is gonna be the same distance out as the adjacent property. But I don't, if the state's not signing off on it, I don't know how much recourse we have except for to cite it.
well, it's our hope that you would be able to see that this is an approvable project and a good project that protects the property owner from a hardship that he hasn't created, the regulatory agencies have created. If you then sign off on it, we'll take it to the DEC and say, officially give us a permit, then we'll take it to the DEC and say, look, 3 regulatory agencies have said it's not a perfect situation, that's why it's not a perfect solution, but it's the best solution to a situation that he didn't create.
Right, and it also makes this DEC look like they're being arbitrary and capricious when you've got 3 regulatory authorities saying,
if you just put
this
sand in,
is
it's gonna
good,
cover
why are
all
you?
the grasses.
Exactly.
So
didn't
they're,
we-
they're concerned because they're calling it a loss of wetlands, but my argument to them is that if the owner never put this little Hail Mary rock revetment here, that these would never have existed in the first place. Because
Right.
the
They'd
rock
already
is
gone.
there,
Right, so
But
let me
aren't
just,
we creating wetlands when we do this project? We
Yes.
are basically putting a structure to make the beach more sound and not wash
Right.
away. And basically elevating it, put some sand in, and then doing a grass planting behind it.
whole
So,
thing.
so you actually look at this wetlands that are here that are still gonna be here after the project's done, but in a different form. So you're not gonna have an actual net loss of a
That was part
wetlands.
of my argument
Right.
in my variance request to them, that we'd be replacing it almost tenfold of what it is right now.
can we back up for a second?
Yes,
We got to the point of asking for engineered plans,
yes,
right? So we were, consensus was built at this board.
yes.
Yeah,
And we got to
already
the-
agreed.
Right, so we got to the point of asking for engineered plans. Did you,
I provided them in December.
right, so it was just a matter of us passing a resolution at that point? Right?
Well, I think we said let's wait for the DEC.
Okay,
permit.
but we were good at our board,
Yeah.
consensus
You were ready-
level
you were ready to
was
vote
built,
on
but,
your
but,
permit.
but,
Yeah.
well, okay.
We did that, we did that already.
Okay, so that, I'm trying to get back to where we were at our board level.
Yes,
We're mindful at times of pause so that it saves you the modification issue.
yes,
But now you're saying that that's off the table, we're not worried about that. You're looking for a definitive.
yes,
So you need to stay, I would say, on the course that we put you on when the board had already built consensus on the project. And then let us follow our function of what we do and what's approved here, and then you gotta do your jobs.
Is there
Right.
a way, definitely appreciate that, and wondering also if there's a way that the permit can be responsive in some way to the concerns of the DEC.
That's through modification.
No, but I mean before you issue it. Before you issue it, maybe, I don't know, we talked a little bit about those two issues, location and level of armoring. If there's some way that we could soften the project in order to meet the concerns of the DEC. They said put a berm. A berm isn't going to do it, right? But maybe we can do something
We
that
can
will.
do that, so you're gonna have to come back to the drawing board then with what that
And
is.
what's that gonna do with the Department of State and the Army Corps? then?
Correct.
They
Now
let
you
them
gotta-
sit that apple cart that you're.
Right, now you gotta revise those,
The
so.
biggest concern is you're gonna lose the rocks.
Yeah, but a berm, a sand berm, in just an essence of a sand berm with no rocks in it, is only gonna be a temporary structure. Because you have a southeast wave fetch basically almost a mile and a half. So the wave action on a tide like similar to what we have a picture of here is gonna put one storm and you're gonna have the
Yeah,
the
they'll be
berm,
gone.
the sand berm, all over his lawn,
Yeah.
all over the wetlands that they want to protect, and you're gonna have.
Yeah, I don't recommend for your client's sake that you soften the structure.
I think that based on the strategy that you're laying out for us here now, the fact that you already have two of the other regulatory authorities, we were already at consensus built needing sand replenishing agreement and moving through that. I think that if we issue a permit, now you have three, and if you end up having to modify, you're gonna have to modify with all three.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're gonna get, protection and.
Can we just ask if the language of your resolution kind of emphasizes or recognizes the concerns that we've just laid out? That, for instance, it will run right into the return if we do exactly what the state said?
That's illegal.
Or- Do you understand what I'm
I
saying,
would just
Joe?
recommend the regular language that we do to approve a permit. Once we start playing with that,
No, I mean, it's just in the whereas, just in the justification, to say that, because one of the things we got from DEC is that this solution isn't justified by the current condition doesn't justify this level of hardening. We need local folks like yourself to say to the DEC that this is real.
I've always been of the opinion at this level of the board that the strongest way that we could emphasize what the board's decision and direction is by passing a formal resolution.
okay,
Correct?
correct, yeah.
That's always been
And
my
the fact that we've
understanding.
issued the permit and
Correct.
the resolution issuing the permit,
Yes.
Especially unanimous,
it's been vetted by us.
especially unanimously.
But you can reflect in our discussion here, the video and everything,
Yes.
saying how we came upon our decision from local knowledge, and then.
Things are about a
James,
balance.
Bridget, why don't you submit some proposed language
Can
to
you-
me? I'll
the
review it.
GIS
I
photo
can't
of
promise
that
that
whole
I'm gonna
shoreline
recommend it, but let me
10
see what you wanna
properties.
say.
Okay, thank you.
Things are about a balance. We
And I
understand.
just recommend that
Is
you
there
get the
another
sand
property to
sand
the
agreement nailed
south?
down,
Further of
so that we can pass the resolution, so you can
Right
move
in there.
forward.
Okay.
That should be.
Right
Well, we
to the
just
north of
received,
that.
Joe gave us the language about a week ago, so.
Maybe not.
I had to amend, there was some
Yeah,
amendment needed.
but I mean, if
we're
you
ready
nail
to
that
rock and roll
down
with it, so.
and you go with the proposal that we were kind of all on
Are
board
they
with
all
it.
bulkheaded along there, James?
Yeah.
I thought there was one that wasn't.
Yeah, this poor fella.
That one there, right? Isn't that the one that, yeah, I believe we worked on that with First Coastal on that project about 3 years ago? Yes. There's already that permit that was. We've already been through this whole scenario. Sorry.
Maybe there's.
Yeah, I mean, you're straddled by two bulkheads. You're gonna get hammered.
Well, the wave
You
energy's got to go
have to
somewhere.
have something to substantiate it, and if we are gonna put plantings on top of it, it's a good chance that if those plantings get rooted within the rock structure before we get a good blow, that they're gonna hold up.
Plus, it's better, the sooner that they address this, the better, because it just keeps marching closer and closer to the pool,
Right.
which makes it that much more difficult. So
Yes.
the sooner that everybody gets to the table and comes up with a
James, can you look
balance,
into the
the
last
better
permit that was
everyone's
issued for
gonna
that
be.
other property?
Agreed.
Bridget, in the
Yes.
proposed language, mention the creation of additional wetlands and stuff, that it's bolstering and enlarging.
Okay. This has been very helpful.
So basically, this board is good with the project, but you won't move forward with full approval until we have a signed sand agreement.
That's correct, that's
Yeah.
standard.
Got it.
That we're gonna follow our standard protocol.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
it.
wasn't sure if the sand
that the
agreement
project I was
comes
talking about?
as a condition, or if it's.
No, we
was,
generally want
we give it
the,
to you and then you.
Tied into the
then you-
permit.
we generally want the language reviewed and
What's that?
approved by.
23, yeah. That permit for the other properties was issued. You might want to foil for that one.
Oh, we got our homework to do,
Yes, you
Daphne.
do.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, I sent the language to the homeowner and I haven't had the chance to review it with him, but I didn't see any issue with it because it was pretty standard. And I don't see why the DEC wouldn't look at that as something to further bolster their ability to approve this, because
Region one
it's.
being Region 1, unfortunately, I think.
But it'll be very helpful to be able to rely on even the record of this discussion today to demonstrate that local knowledge, really does support this solution to a difficult issue.
problem's not gonna go away by
No.
itself,
No.
okay? It's just gonna get worse, and then it's gonna be harder to combat, okay?
Right.
So,
Unfortunately, some, regulatory agencies have these policy goals in place that aren't necessarily keeping up with what's happening, with the water.
with the
eating
real
the
world
land.
that we live in,
But-
Yeah, and that
but
that
they have to
doesn't
remember
stop
that
right at
that's
that
why the
bulkhead, so.
variances-
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for
Right, I
your
agree, and
comments.
that's
Yeah.
why I wrote the whole.
All right.
So, okay, then I believe we understand our tasks to get this moved to approval in the near future. So we will do what we can.
Get me the language and
done.
I'll take a look at it and I'll craft a draft resolution and let you.
you have nothing else on today.
Nope.
So you're free to go and figure this out.
Thank you very much. We're glad you're here doing the job of the local people.
We're doing the job of the local people, protecting the environment at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We need, we can advance it pending
Yeah,
sand agreement.
yeah, just the signed sand agreement, the draft's already to them.
We have Joe Taramina, 4 Mill Pond Road, represented by Twin Forks. Hey, Lisa. Good morning.
This is, I think, a pretty straightforward application for a bulkhead replacement on a man-made canal. It's at the end of the canal, in-kind in place, vinyl sheathing. He's already got a buffer there,
Standard.
pretty standard,
Yep.
straightforward.
So, I mean, I've been there, looked at it, and,
I grew up in that neighborhood.
yeah, so,
You consider me
I
growing
mean,
up.
I think it's pretty simple, straightforward, just like you said, so,
I don't think there's anything crazy or,
There's no height change
no. It's
in kind in place.
Yep, pull out the old and put in the new, so with vinyl and hardwood,
yeah.
so.
It's at the very end of the canal.
Yep,
So it's man-made canal.
it's the northwest corner, I was there the other day, so.
Sure. The length, as far as the linear length?
Yes.
And then the,
and the width of it, so.
As far as the
4
cord-
foot by 120 feet of walkway, right, putting walkway.
oh,
Dimensions.
replanking on top, yep,
Yeah.
of the decking, okay, not, not the bulkheads.
No,
No,
Okay.
okay, it's just the linear feet.
Okay, yeah, the length and the width of the decking, that's there right now. Okay.
That's all you have on today, right?
I have one
One
more.
more?
Roses Grove.
I see that, 149.
Do you want to do that now or do you want me to?
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why you're here.
Okay. Then we'll cut line. This one was before the board a little while ago, and it was asked that the dock be considered to be shifted further down the shoreline. The engineers took a look at that, and they were able to do that. It shortened the dock length about 12 feet from mean low water to the terminus end. So I think you have revised plans in your file that were dated 3/3 and 3/10 for the two different pages. It's still showing a proposed,
T-dock, floater,
correct.
ramp. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It extended a little bit further on the landward side, just to, in order to deal with.
Yeah, get past the marsh there.
Correct,
Yeah.
but the overall length.
I think
from
that's a
the
better
water.
location than you had it last time, just for your homeowner's sake.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, you have no objections.
Works.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we're good with that, right? James?
I'll get you stamp plans.
Of course.
Yes, yep. They were gonna stamp them until
Good.
It'll be okay.
everybody gave it the vote of approval. So I'll get you those stamp plans, and I'll get you the revised cover letter for that other one. Okay.
We're good.
They'll advance both of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
fine,
One of
thank you.
them, one of them has stamp, the first one has stamp, plans, and that kid fully advances.
Just
So
with
that
cover,
covers-
yep,
This one's just gonna go on for the next work session for the plans.
being
Stamp.
stamped. Okay, sure, no
You're
problem.
all set.
Great.
Have a great
Thank
day.
Thank you.
All right, then you have Christian Leno, 16 Lynn Avenue for land use.
16 Avenue is next.
It's in Lynn Court, not Lynn Avenue.
Oh, yes.
What is it?
Yes.
Lynn Court.
Lynn Court,
It's off of Glen Avenue, but yes.
Yeah, there's
off
a
Lynn
little-
Avenue.
Now, there are two pieces of property here, correct, that it's gonna go on?
Yeah, due to the configuration of the bulkhead at this site, and it would be less disturbance if they reconstructed it with the return on the neighbor's property. So
Okay.
they got permission from the neighbor, which I submitted.
So it's good, just to be returned, but the bulkhead facing is gonna be on this easement that goes to the water, or the property, I guess you'd say?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's 11 feet that would transverse over to the neighbor's property to the south, carry.
So,
If you look at the plans,
yeah, I have looked at
Oh,
them a
yeah.
couple times, and I was like, I did have some questions.
okay,
Because basically, I don't know how legally this is gonna work out, because we're reviewing an application on one property, and it's gonna end up on another property. So, Joe, this is a legal question.
Okay, sorry.
We have an application for a bulkhead replacement in Shinnecock Bay. The subject property is gonna get some of the bulkhead placed on it, and the neighboring property to the
so
south is gonna get the rest of the bulkhead. Does he need an application for the work being done on his property? Or
You're gonna need two permits because you got two different tax map numbers, so.
that's why I
okay.
had a question, and
It's a shared facility,
Yeah.
but everybody's gonna have to reflect on their,
yeah,
on the,
here's the application, and this is the plans. So, I mean, that's why I was asking you where the return or the other bulkhead is gonna be, piece of it, because it's gonna be on another adjoining property owner.
Right.
So-
We submitted a letter of permission already, but
I have two permits and two tax map numbers, so.
Okay, that's a good point.
so they need their own separate application for that portion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who pays for it? It's not our problem or
Yes.
Okay.
concern, but
Dealt
we
with
need
this
to see it just.
Before, and that, and what happens if there's just work done on the neighbor's property with the return or something? I didn't have to go through 2 applications.
You can set up a maintenance agreement between the parties, have their attorneys craft the mutual agreement. But in terms of our permit, it's two tax map numbers, we would need two permits.
And it's clearly 11 feet on his property, that's why I'm
Yeah.
having this whole discussion.
Okay.
And I know in the past, we have done this very similar, where there's been easements and the property, the bulk, one side or the other, there was some of the bulkhead either returned. So we would ask the adjoining neighbor to submit an application for the work being done on his property.
Do you see any difficulty in obtaining that?
No, just the time. James, I had a question for you then. So, I mean, have you used the same set of plans, or they got their own set of plans?
I think
mean,
you could
yeah,
probably use the same set of
same set of
plans.
plans.
Share the plans,
Yeah.
you know, the cover sheet should reflect a different tax map number, obviously, but the relief that it's being sought, just make a notation in the project description that it's, you know, it's going to be a shared.
The cover sheets, if you're doing two different permits, two different applications, just split up the linear feet for each one.
Oh,
So
yeah.
What's on the property.
Yes.
What's on the other.
That way it's
Yeah,
clean.
I have that on this cover sheet.
That way it's
And
clean.
note it parenthetically that it's going to be a shared structure. Just note it that way.
Okay.
Dan, it's an extra step, but I think it's cleaner.
Yeah, no, it's okay, no problem. You gotta do what you gotta do to
We've done
make
this
it,
on time and
correct.
base, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
And the
Sounds
bulkhead
fair.
is not in terrible shape. It's not gonna wash away in a month or two. As I was down there the other day. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's pretty sturdy, so it'll hold through the process that we gotta go through with you.
Okay.
Have anything else today?
No, that's all, thank you.
You good? All right. Cole Environmental you have for 14 Ocean View Drive, Michael
Yes.
Proyals.
Here's the,
Good morning.
Kate Rummel, Co-Environmental,
go.
with the homeowner Michael with me.
Yes. We have looked at this.
So yeah, we revised the plans based on comments we received from the from the DEC to reduce the size of the stones, the width, the height, and then we've moved it fully onto the Trustee Road.
Yeah, the Shinnecock Beach Road. That way it's out of Marty's covered in an easement that,
Exactly.
came about, so.
And the DEC hasn't, they're in the process of reviewing the most recent submission. They've asked if we can get something in writing from the board that states that that's what you wanted, that it was fully on the Shinnecock Road.
Well,
That's something.
well, the survey and our permit will show that it's on our road.
Quick.
Right.
Yeah. They
And
just want, I
pretty
mean,
thick.
we can wait for the permit to come in
That
and
would
give
be the
that to them.
clearest.
And,
Yeah.
and
Well,
like,
it's an
and
emphatic statement that we
Right,
approve.
yes.
and the discussion through the process that we recommended, it has to be off of the Conservation
Yes.
Board on the trustee Shinnecock Beach Road, which we could solely put in our jurisdiction. That way we could review the application.
Right, I relayed that to them, but they wanted something in writing, and I think they're holding up,
Well,
like, the continuation of their review.
Well, it's on our property, right? Right?
Yeah.
So we would have a say in that.
By issuing a permit, we're emphatically stating it's
Exactly.
permissible.
Okay, so just wait until the permit is
Yeah,
issued.
That's the strongest
Okay.
language.
Again, the permit's gonna tell
Has a
what-
survey
what you
that
need.
shows Shinnecock Beach Road, has our resolution.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
the strongest.
Be hard pressed to deny that we permitted it if we issue the permit to you.
Yes.
Right.
I was just hoping to get something before that, because I don't think they'll continue their review until they have.
How far are we away from that?
We just have to pass the
We
resolution.
need the, here's,
Sand
We have
agreement, I
sand
think, is
agreement.
available, we just need to send that over.
You need to
I
sign
believe.
the sand agreement
Right here.
and submit any stamp plans that might be needed, and it can then move on to resolution.
Right, you're right here at the finish line.
Yes.
Just get across the
Yep.
line and then you're gonna get the strongest documentation possible.
Perfect. Can this be moved forward pending the sand agreement? Because I believe that his attorney has written that up, and
The ball is in your court at that point. We've submitted the language, and if it's acceptable, get it signed and get it back to us so we
Okay.
can advance it.
okay, great.
Stamp plans.
Yes.
yep, stamp plans and the sand agreement signed, and we will advance it to the next approval at the work session and move it to the general meeting.
Perfect. Great.
You have other things on today while you're sitting there?
Yes, but I don't know if we should wait.
Let's do that last.
Yeah.
We'll do that last.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right, so you then have 128 Dune Road.
First Coastal. Aram.
All right, so let's go to the next one and he comes back. We got Joe McLaughlin. You have 5 Edgemere Drive.
Jim,
Get your science.
Yep.
Mr. Walker. Hey, Jim.
I met Joe, James Duryea and Charlotte out at the property. And I came back to the board. We're gonna take up half the gravel, leave 6 feet with the Belgian block along the face of the bulkhead. And the center would stay at the 10 feet, but then we would plant 6 feet of little blue stem behind it. So the buffer's gonna end up being 12 feet wide instead of 10 feet that you would normally get. That's the plan.
Joe, you're all right with this?
I think it's a fair compromise. What do you guys think? I mean, I
So you're just gonna nick out some of the bluestone and then top fill it and plant it?
Yeah.
We're not gonna fill it with topsoil, Chip. When you plant little blue stem, you plant it in sand.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be clean sand. It's gonna be little blue stem planted 12 inches on center. It's gonna be mulched. We do water it for 1 year. The little blue stem is a native prairie grass, and it's native to Long Island. It's what the settlers used to burn the area out in Montauk so they could get little blue stem grass because it's valuable habitat. So the idea is it's going to intercept the stormwater. And you're still going to have the gravel intercept more stormwater. So you ended up with 12 feet of
This yours.
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I'm good with it.
Okay, advance?
Yep.
We're going to submit revised plans because I misspelled the property on his name.
Well, okay.
And he told
We
me.
had stamp plans too.
Stamp plans for plants?
Oh, I guess.
No, we're good. No stamps.
I don't think it's very exciting
I think
for an engineer to look at.
I think when it comes to the owner's name, spelling counts, so.
We're going to submit a corrected set of plans and hope you advance it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if you're gonna correct the spelling, the fee for the modification of the cover sheet, please.
Your cover sheet, I got it right. Only screwed up the plan.
All right, so Aram is still on a phone call, right? And now we are at Cole Environmental,
Yeah, Cole.
Daisy McFadden.
Yeah.
Did we do 175?
We're,
No, but we're, the point is that we place this on the calendars. My understanding, we're going to be requesting that the matter be set for a public hearing, so.
I don't have any problem with that as long as Aram's client
Well,
is
let's-
also.
Yeah, I advised
Well,
Aram, but let's wait for Aram to come back so we
I think
can.
you should probably just talk about these both at the same time. The neighbor, I think it makes a lot of
He's in
sense.
the town
Yeah,
attorney's
That's a preliminary
office.
conversation.
Yeah,
He had a
let's-
meeting with
that's fine.
Kathleen. Let me go see if I can get him.
I'll get in there, Jess.
He's in the town attorney's
Yeah.
office. He had a meeting with Kathleen.
I'm sorry?
He's in the town attorney's
Double
office.
booked.
Oh, I thought he
He
was
has a
on.
meeting with Kathleen. I mean, I can go see. if- Yeah.
He sits on a public hearing. Just for a public hearing.
hey, you know, clock's ticking over here, you know?
Yeah.
Meters running. Meters running. You know? He's serving me with stuff right here on TV. Okay, this is a separate issue.
Another issue.
Yeah, it's life in the big city here. Little town. Just a small town trustee. President of the trustees. That's why I get,
Weekend?
oh, nice holiday, right? Anybody ate too much?
No, we did.
I'm the only guy?
Too
Alone?
much chocolate, Scott?
Thank you.
I can't
Much
do.
everything.
I can't do sweets. I just get headaches.
Really? Well, it wasn't just sweets. Let's go through stamp plans. I feel like Johnny Carson bombing a monologue here, and I haven't got my tap dancing shoes on.
You're up
so.
next, Scott, here.
Yeah, let's talk about Lori Harrison at 20 Tarpon. Squad, you could stay right there. Stay right there. This way, if anything goes wrong, we're gonna hold you responsible for it since you're in the hot seat. Let's see that.
Okay.
James, looks good?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to do?
We're doing
We're
it.
doing it right now there, Mr. Bennett.
No, do you have anything else to do? Because Aaron should be here.
I understand, but
Yeah,
we're
We're
doing that
doing
right
it,
now.
we're doing that now.
We're doing that right now.
The other stuff.
Taking
We
me
are,
out of
we are.
order.
Yeah, we are ready. Okay, so we have 55 Romana Drive, Richard Grimminger Irrevocable Trust. We've got stamp plans matching everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're gonna advance that.
90 Cold Spring.
We're gonna go over to Trustee McLaughlin's area. Please note, Mr. Tertunian entered the room. Stay there, you could come here, whatever. Let's just finish this up. McLaughlin, we've got 92 Cold Spring Point Road. We're all set, I see stamp plans.
Okay, so we're good ahead.
We're going good with that. And we've got Fowler, 370 Fowler Street LLC, which happens to be a First Coastal.
Yeah, that's the one we talked about. We just needed the agreement.
I think we're all set on that one, yeah?
Yeah. We're
So
just
we're checking out your stamp plans
waiting
here.
for you, so we're getting something else done.
Checking over your stamp plan here.
Gormutu,
Okay?
former town engineer.
Okay. So we are advancing that. Now, we're going to back up a little bit and we're going to talk about Daisy McFadden at 7 Norton Place in North Sea.
You want to do,
Yeah, let's just double back on 128 Dune Road.
You want to
while
do that one
Aram's
first?
here, just to
Okay.
get
so-
it out of the way.
Okay,
'cause
we could do that
yeah.
too. Before we get into all the fun.
So, we basically, there's an existing walkway on the property. And what we propose to do is to rebuild that walkway and then extend a dock into Mecox Bay. And
Took a look at this. It's consistent with the pier line of the neighboring dock, so I don't see a problem with
feet
it.
of water and
Yeah,
Meet all the
it's
tests.
within Blue Book. Yeah, and you've got it right in the middle of the property, which is
Got the
nice.
proper engineer plans and whatnot, or are we waiting?
we need stamp plans.
Okay. So can
So
we
if
advance?
everybody's satisfied, I'll get them.
In advance it pending stamp
Yeah.
plans.
Yeah, advance pending those points, and we'll go over it at that point again. All right. Now, are you ready?
Now let's go to Davis Creek.
Davis Creek, the Daisy McFadden application for 7 Norton Place.
Well, it probably makes sense to talk about the prior application and this application together. Alex, what's his name?
Michael Alex.
Michael Alex.
So, just so I have clarification, is the one that's on now is the repair of the bulkhead,
Yeah, that's 175 Cow Point Road is the bulkhead repair.
and that's what we have on for right now? Or we have,
Chronologically, it's first.
Right, chronologically it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. He's correct. 175
so
Cow Point.
let's start with 175. Okay.
Right, on 175, we had met with the board previously, and you were just awaiting stamp plans, which I believe we've submitted. And this also includes removing and relocating the existing dock to maintain the 10-foot separation to the property line. Right, you could see that it was a little bit over on the right side.
Right,
So we're just shifting that
tiny bit.
to get the 10 feet.
I'd like to be heard, but
Yeah, I think everybody's gonna be heard. Go ahead, John.
I don't have a problem with what I see here, subject to something being able to be worked out. And Aram sent me some stuff on Friday afternoon. But one thing that the board should be aware of, and I'll just use what Aram sent me in terms of maybe a way to come about looking at all of these things, and I think it's probably pretty smart if the board can come there. But this, Aram's clients had a float out there forever. No permits, nothing whatsoever. It's just this big floating platform, and I will represent to you as a officer of the court, that in my review of the aerials, this thing moves all the way around. Sometimes it's in front of my client's house, sometimes it's over here, sometimes it's here. It has absolutely
Do you have an extra one? I'll take
no
it.
legitimacy.
Thank you.
It's not the sort of thing that you guys would ever approve, and I would suggest that any permit that you grant him be subject to the removal of this.
Well, what is the water depth? It needs to be 2.5 feet of water for a floating dock.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
So I mean, if
But that's not
that criteria right there gets rid of it.
That should be a notice of violation or a summons
I
or
know,
something
but
like
I
that.
would think you would condition it upon removal of that.
Which one are we looking at?
It's just,
I have no, how long has that been here?
Oh, a long time.
Oh,
You can
like-
see it in the aerials on
Aerials going back
GIS.
to
It should have been,
Yeah, but
what?
Which should have been noticed for violation.
Right, correct, it should have been,
We weren't aware that it was his dock for that matter. I thought it
Right,
was
so
the
that-
adjacent property. So
that's gonna get summons.
I mean, I'm not suggesting that you bring him into court in a violation. I'm just suggesting you make it as a condition.
Happy to remove it.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
Well, then that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
That solves that issue. What else you got?
Well, then, as long as we're talking about these things, and I think it's good, I think there should be a public hearing on this stuff, as for Aram's client, if you're gonna force a public hearing on mine. And I think Aram may be on the cusp of some way to resolve this. Aram sent me something on Friday, which I think was pretty Solomonic, which is, concern is having a dock extend out, which the current, I guess, dock would sneak in a little bit into his guy's area. If this is something that could be, a scheme like that could be worked out amongst these two owners, you would have to give some relief on this 10-foot setback, which our current proposal meets, but it's the
yeah,
sort of.
let's stick. We're on the other property right now. So,
But can
yeah.
we do this?
Yeah, with that one property, 175, does not need a notice of public hearing because it complies with all the Blue Book regulations of what we want. It's not impeding on anybody else's property. The bulkhead is being replaced as the board all agreed upon. So I don't believe, I mean, besides the discrepancy of this floating dock, that the permit process for the construction of 175 needs to go to public.
Well, but for me being independently made aware of that, a public hearing would have been appropriate in this,
Right,
because how could the violation have come? to
Right. So let me just hold on a second.
Yeah.
Just let me talk. Now that, let me just, please,
we're gonna
hold on.
unwind this.
Please,
Give us a-
please,
give us a
please,
chance
please,
here.
please. Don't make me use this. I will. I think that while everybody's at the table and we're getting all kinds of letters, I think the only way we resolve this is with a global perspective here, right? You guys are already communicating, correct?
Yeah.
We're already in the direction of setting a public hearing that involves all the parties that are basically in this room right now. Why don't you continue your conversation and then we have this public hearing and we resolve this
Joint public hearing.
joint.
Perfect. I think that's
I
the only
think,
way.
I think
to
it's
do
a
it.
global perspective,
Yeah.
okay? And I just want to see people access the water and enjoy their property, follow the rules without all of this. Can we do this?
I'm not standing on anything other than trying to get a dock for my client. If that means concessions on both sides and working with the
Aaron?
trustees, I'm all about it.
It's clear,
good?
it's clear that there's gonna have
Okay.
to be some relief.
So let's do that. You guys, I'm really happy to hear you have communication going on. I think it's key. We'll set a public hearing. It'll probably occur in June by the time we go through the dance, right? And by then, maybe we're here, like, whatever, having a nice time.
And to the extent that I can help facilitate the parties to get to the point where we have an agreement, when we hold the public hearing and present it, I'm happy to help.
Are we good? Are we good?
We're good.
All right. Is there anything else here?
Letters, though? I haven't seen any of those. Though.
Emails.
There's been
Emails,
letters,
there's stuff.
people concerned about
Right.
the access and egress.
Is there,
The channel runs along the shore.
Okay.
I would say you continue your communication. Let's have the public hearing. Is there any other business that we have to conduct here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're good?
Done.
We're good?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, let's,
Doing one application,
let's-
it directly affects the other, so.
let's
you have to
reserve
do-
this for the public hearing after you have collaborated.
And if I may, I think also you'd want to have a public hearing because in order to implement Aram's plan, which I think is a good one.
Good.
You know, we need relief from the 10 feet, but you've got by far the widest property.
Where's the line team?
Now you can submit to me what you were trying to give me.
Yeah, we also have Army Corps to deal with.
Right.
We
have everybody to deal with, but-
You have a
but
lot of other concessions
you-
to get through.
You
first.
have a lot of consensus, nor am I. I am concerned about what we do at this board, okay? And I think that's what our focus is. Thank you for bringing this, all of you together, communicating. Let's handle this at the public hearing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Get the two old timers together.
Thank you. I wasn't gonna say that, but it's
Older
pretty
than you,
obvious.
for crying out loud, so throw me in the equation.
Okay? Thank you.
Would you like to discuss the dates right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
understand.
so we could
Thank you.
notice the public hearings on May 5th, and we can hold the public hearings at the first June meeting, which would be June 2nd.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, are we done with our agenda here? Because I know we have an executive session. Are we, is there anything more on the work session? Because I know we have exec session.
Well, I'll just add on that both Mecox is open and incredibly healthy and deep, and SAG is being open now.
Thank you. That's great news. Thank you. All right. Based on that, I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting, go into executive session for the discussing of contracts and litigation.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great afternoon, everybody.